Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 15 of Visions of Tomorrow, the review series for Gran Turismo's Selection, a selection which was increasing pretty well but has kind of dropped off a bit lately. Hopefully that will continue. For VisionGT, or Vision Gran Turismo concept cars, cars which are freed from the constraints of a production vehicle. They don't have to meet any kind of rule or regulation, either road or racing. And that allows manufacturers the potential to really go crazy, to have imaginative cars, cars which don't necessarily even need to adhere to the laws of physics, such as the Tomahawk. This particular vehicle is a similar kind of vehicle. It doesn't necessarily break physics as such, but it does use a power source which as yet is not a viable option. In the future it could be, but for the moment at least, it's not. And that is laser power. And the car is, of course, the Chaparral 2X VisionGT. I love this car. I think it's a fantastic VisionGT car. I may even consider this car to be the best VisionGT car so far. I don't use it the most, and it's certainly not the fastest, but the reason why I think it's the best is because no other car in the entire series so far, of all of the VGTs that we've currently got, embody the concept of creativity as well as this one. And for a car like that to come from a racing manufacturer as iconic as Chaparral is very appropriate. Chaparral was always known for their innovation, not just with the most obvious example of the 2J, but also with other vehicles as well, such as earlier models which had aerodynamics or downforce systems that would move with the suspension, which was something which hadn't been seen before. And let's not forget that Chaparral was also the first team to even use wings or spoilers on their cars. So all of their cars pretty much innovate in one way or another. This car does the same. Now, it uses a laser power system, which, when it first came out, I was initially hoping would mean that you would never need to pit in. But unfortunately it doesn't work in that way, and the fuel use is virtually identical to any of the other LMPs. And technically speaking, the 2X is a Le Mans car. It's a fictional 2025 Le Mans vehicle. 2025 isn't that far off, so the chances of this car being the kind of race car that we'd have by that point seem relatively slim, but who knows. And it has incredible performance. Now, there's only one particular way that I was kind of disappointed with this car, and I wasn't disappointed with the car, I was disappointed with polyphony. Because in the videos that we were allowed to see before this car was added to the game, it was very clearly capable of speeds of around 290 miles per hour on Route X. The handling looked awful, it was all over the road, but it was capable of that speed. The version which we have now on the game is not capable of that speed. It's capable of 260. Now it does get there extremely quickly. It has a very similar way of delivering its performance to a gas turbine or an electric car. Just smooth, relentless performance and acceleration, which doesn't really peak and dip. It just has an even, fluid power flow. And a single gear. Interestingly as well, on the point of having a single forward gear, technically speaking this car doesn't actually have gears at all, because it's driven by thrust. It is the only car in the game to do so. In fact, it's the only car of the entire Gran Turismo franchise to do so. Now, a car being driven by thrust isn't all that crazy an idea. Most of the top-level dragsters, such as the jet or rocket-powered drag cars, do the exact same thing. They're not driven through a gear system, they're driven by sheer thrust, which literally pushes the car instead of running through a complex gear system, differential, etc., to turn the wheels. Now, in terms of sheer spec, the 2X is pretty impressive. We're not told any kind of quantifying stuff about the engine, such as capacity, etc., because they just don't apply to this kind of engine. Again, very similar to a gas turbine or an electric vehicle, and it actually sounds very similar to a gas turbine as well, with that spooling down whistle that I personally absolutely love about gas turbine engines. There is also that pop and crackle of the laser system, which I personally find to be not as nice to listen to, but you can't do anything about that. The car does also have a reversing option through, if I remember correctly, an electric motor, which is fair enough, and interestingly also has all-wheel steering, which is pretty much essential given that the car is driven by thrust rather than by driving the individual wheels. Because to try and slow down a car that's thrust-driven, and even more so to turn a car that's thrust-driven, is a much more difficult task than a vehicle which is driving the wheels. Because in order to slow down a car that's driving through its wheels, you only need to slow down the wheels, and the rest takes care of itself. With a thrust-driven vehicle, it does not want to turn. It wants to go in a straight line, and you can feel that with this car. The handling is very, very stiff when you apply throttle. So it's not necessarily, ironically enough, the best of cars for twisty circuits. You do need a relatively wide open track to really put that power down. Technically, not put that power down, more like put that power out of the back. What about spec though? Well, the PP is very high, 796. And interestingly, the reason why I say it's 796, because yours probably isn't, is because for some strange reason, this car actually gets a higher PP by reducing the power. Now that doesn't go all the way down to the lowest level, of course, but by lowering it down just a little, for some strange reason, that increases it to 796. Now it does put out a maximum of 905 horsepower and only weighs 450 kilos, so the power to weight ratio is insane. Over 2,000 horsepower per tonne. For 1,000,000 credits, it's like nothing else. So, of course, I'd recommend checking out the 2X. But that's it for this particular episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.